Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Monday evening episode of Fair Life with Andrew McKee. And hey, Susan and Jan and Katsrita and Damaris and Kurt and Janine and Kat, yeah, and Kathy. So yes, um, yeah, I'm suddenly noticing the predominance of KAT prefix names in the watchers. That's I don't know what to make of that. I'm sure there's some interesting mathematical aspect to it, but I'm not going to worry about it. But great to see you all. Yes, wow, what a weekend and what a previous week. I'm amazed I'm conscious. Let's put it that way. It has been a crazy last 10 days. For those of you that were with me last Monday, you remember that we just come off a 3-day weekend. So that is always it's a bit taxing, mainly because we're just not used to it. I mean, I think if we had 3-day weekends every weekend, we'd probably be fine, but it's just a little more than usual. And hey, Sarit, great to see you. Uh, but yeah, the what happened after that is on Tuesday, and I think I mentioned this to you last Monday, was that I did some recording for Magnolia, as in Judas and Magnolia, a group that does several sort of an escape trick kind of show, and she is also a very good singer. So she wanted to put together a CD of cantigas and needed somebody to really just record it. She's going to different fairs that she's doing throughout the season and working with different musicians, and asked if, yeah, I could just do the recording. And I have a portable setup and I have the experience on microphone placement, and it uh yes, so she hired me to do that. So I just looked at it as another day of fair, but that kind of turned it into like almost a 4-day weekend in a way, with the Monday fair life in between. So yeah, then last weekend, I made sure to get a really good sleep last weekend, so that made it okay. And yeah, Janine, yes, statistically speaking, yes, I guess you're right. That is true. But yeah, I'll leave that to you, the statistician, Janine. But no, it was last weekend was a really good weekend. I had a good time, and like I said, I got sleep, so I actually remember it. That's always a good bonus, I think, for a fair. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Beautiful weather, a little on the warm side, but after some of the cold before, I am fine with it. And just beautiful, beautiful weather. And that's always nice at a fair, as I'm sure you all agree. It was yeah, I would say that a really good crowd on Saturday. I think, what was the final total? How they told us this, I want to say about 10,000 or so. Which I know by other standards, like the Texas Renaissance Festival or Minnesota, that's not a huge number. But I mean, keep in mind the fair is just a little over 10 years old, so it's not. That's pretty good, very good, really. So yeah, that was really good, and a decent crowd on Sunday, and yeah, made good tips, had a good time, and good shows, and a lot of fun. And who can ask for more? Jan, oh, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I know I enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm working on a lot of new stuff and some music. So next weekend, since I actually have 5 straight days this week to work on things, I'm working on some stuff. So there'll be some new stuff next weekend. Um, oh, really? That's great, Sari. Yeah, it is. That's one of the best ways to do it, I think, because you bring your friends to a fair and introduce them. And honestly, I think that's kind of how all of us first started a Ren Fair, in one way or another. I mean, we didn't just accidentally drive by and say, "Ooh, I wonder what that is." Normally, a friend brings us in. That tends to be the case. For me, it was my sister who first brought me to a Ren Fair, but I'm sure all of you kind of have your own stories about how you. Actually, I'm kind of curious how, for your first Ren Fair experience, how did that happen? Did a friend of yours or a family member bring you there, or was it? Um, did you just happen to come across it as an advertisement and decide to try it? Yeah, I kind of think that'd be an interesting thing. Yeah, just a little bit, but yeah, to know. And I don't know, that'd be interesting. But no, for me, yes, I had some really good shows. Oh yeah, I even got a not really usual in America, but yeah, I even got a 10 euro tip from somebody. She just said, "Oh, I want to give you a good tip. I would you take euros?" And I was just kind of like, "Okay, sure." I mean, $10 euro. I mean, with the exchange rate is actually $11, so I'll take it. Never hurts. Different, but why not? Why not? Uh, okay, so the official number was just shy, a little bit under 10,000, but around there. Uh, oh, school field trip. That's interesting. And hello, Adam. Great to see you. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I think that does happen to some people, especially with school days uh, going on during the week for some fairs. It didn't used to be as much of a thing with fairs years ago, but it's become more and more of a thing where they have those special days for students. But yeah, yeah, I think you're right. That might be how some of them kind of get involved. Of course, some of the people who work fairs, they get born into it because their parents did it, and they just kind of naturally become a part of it. So I guess that happens too. Hmm. But yeah, anyway, it was a great weekend. And oh, yes, I did want to tell you a little bit about the Bardic Duel that I've been doing. And I don't know how much I've really told you all about this at the show. I know some of you have seen me do that show at Sherwood, but yeah, what happened was several years ago. It was in the morning at morning meeting before fair started, and Ermagerd the Bard was going over her schedule and saying, I've got this weird show. It's at the combat arena. I mean, I don't know what to do with that because that's just sword fighting and that's what they do there. I don't know how to make that really work well. I'll figure out something, but I don't know. It's very different than what I'm used to. So we talked about it, and I just said, well, why don't you invite another performer who's free at that point and have a bardic duel, a bard off, see, go do challenges back and forth and see who, just have fun with it. Just see who wins each challenge. And she just said, "Oh, that's a great idea. I love it. What are you doing at 2:30?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, I walked into that. I so walked into that." So yeah, I joined her for that, and other performers over the last few years have kind of come in and out, and I've done some of them. And then Ermagerd was there for the first 2 weekends this year, but then she left to do Avalon. So yeah, I took over for her, and I've been doing that. And I got oh, what's his name? Um, was it Taliesin the Bard? And he joined me on that, and it's been interesting because he is more of a storyteller, uh, and it's kind of interesting because the he's just a total goofball, and he appeals to the audience that way. Where I go more for the music and the technical side, he goes more for the silliness. So together, it's an interesting challenge. So I've been enjoying that. Yeah. Oh, and I'm getting responses as far as for how people. Okay, okay. Yeah, and Janine has never gone as yet. That's true. I remember that. Um, and one in New York as a kid. Um, okay, okay. And oh, husband, and that can happen too. I mean, couples they get together and one person has a lot of experience with fairs and the other doesn't. So yeah, that works out. Um, nice, nice. Uh, okay, okay, nice. Andrew Vinson from YouTube, yeah, the straight man and the goofball. Where have I seen that dynamic with you before? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is an easy one for me to fall into. Um, but yeah, yeah, it is. I'm gonna say it's not quite the same dynamic as with the Brobdingnagian bards. So yeah, it is pretty different. And for those of you who've seen it, yeah, you'll agree with me, I think. But it was interesting. The challenges I came up with this past weekend. Let's see, what was it? It was I did the I think Saturday was the get an audience members get the audience's help in writing a song or tune and doing it that way. And I thought that was a really good challenge, and I really really played to some of my strengths. Towson, he did a great job. He got the audience involved, and it was very uh, it was a lot of fun and a good song he came up with. I've done a lot of workshops on how to write music at Dragon Con for years. And what I'll do is I'll just have the audience tell me random numbers, turn that into notes and note durations, and play it for them. And it blows people's minds every time because it's random enough that you usually get a good tune. Maybe not great, but at least good, better than people would expect. And that kind of helped me to win that challenge, definitely. Um, then I think, yeah, yesterday what I did was the worst song ever. That was a fun one. I said that the trick for being a bard and the instinct that a bard has is to improve everything, to do a better song, a better tune, a better story. So the challenge was to come up with the worst song you could come up with. I mean, just something that would make people's ears bleed. And I got him on that one. He got me on his challenges, but I got him on mine. His was he came up. He just couldn't do it bad enough. He was just did these kind of odd, strange song lyrics, but the audience still thought it was funny, so they laughed. Mine was more if Hildegard of Bingen had written Bogged Down in the Valley. So I just did a lot of long, kind of Gregorian chant notes, some of which I purposefully did out of tune. No, it was on purpose, I swear. And then just at the end went and the bog down in the valley, oh, and then went to that, and oh, it was horrible. I won that one easily. That was a horrible challenge. Uh, but I got him. So that's part of the fun you get to have at Faire when you do shows like that because it's not the standard. I'm going to play my 6 or 7 songs and we're done. It's it's very different, and I like that. So it really breaks it up, and that's always a good thing. Always a good thing. Um, I know. But I try to tell you all about it when I can. So it is fun. The duel is a fun thing. Um, okay. Yes, I know, Susan. One day it'll happen. Oh, and Kurt for the D&D group. That's a good point. You know, you get into that role-playing game type thing, and your friends will uh, bring you to Faire. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crossover there, so that makes sense. Um, yeah, he is really entertaining. He's definitely he's a goofball and uh, definitely fun to play with. Uh, we definitely approach things a bit differently. I'll say that, but that's good because if you have the same two types of performers and musicians on stage going against each other, it's not as interesting. So I think it's a pretty good match. We'll see. I don't know if we'll be doing it next weekend together or not. I think Lady Prudence is coming in one of these weekends, so she might join in on that. She has in the past. So we'll see what happens. But it is a fun time. Um, oh, you do, Janine? I think that was the a couple of years ago, the pandemic year when I did that. They asked me um, to do a songwriting thing, to do that online, and I did. So I think that's probably the one you saw. I don't think I've done it online at any other time. Um, yeah. But keep in mind that was the challenge to do the worst possible. Can you think of much worse than that? I thought it was brilliant. I thought that was perfect, right? I mean, how could you do worse? I mean, that's that. So I thought I achieved the goal. I mean, and I thought it was counterintuitive because it goes against every bardic instinct to do something badly. Um, and I will admit it was a struggle. It was a struggle to try to maintain that. I mean, I wasn't even sure what I was going to do until he did his version first because I challenged him. He did it first, and I there was that part of me that just thought I'll just do the one note concerto in G and just play one G note for as long as I can hold the note and do it that way. Like I have really good breath control as a wind player, so I can probably hold the note for a good 30 to 45 seconds and just keep playing it. So I thought about doing that, but I was kind of like, no. People are laughing. That can work against me. They might be entertained and give it to them anyway, in spite of the instructions. They've done that before. So I went, I went all out. So that's why I did that. That is why I did that. Now, let's see. I guess I should talk about fairs coming up because we're starting to go into that transition period. It is March 20th was the first day of spring, and we're kind of heading into that switchover in April when we start seeing more fairs going more into the north of the United States. It's still, I'm just gonna laugh at that and move on. um, but yeah, it's still for this weekend. They're still mostly in the south, but they're starting to inch more north with the Norman Fair in Norman, Oklahoma. So we'll see. But as you get to the middle of April, you'll start to see more stuff in more of the northern U.S. So we're starting to get in that transition period. So it is kind of interesting because spring starts March 20th, but the warm periods it takes a little while for that to get more north, as some of you I'm sure are well aware. So yeah, let's move over to take a quick look. You can kind of see what I'm talking about over here. Yeah, you get the different fairs, and Norman is still the most northernmost right now. Right. And that's my point, Susan. That's my point. They say spring, but it's not exactly true. I mean, whatever the groundhog says, it's just, yeah. It really takes mid-April, I think, before things in the north start to get warmer. I mean, you'll still get cold fronts up there. It happens. It's crazy. So yes. And yeah. What we do is, okay, I guess since you asked, Janine, I'll tell you what we do is one of the fighting master there at the combat arena, he actually MCs for us. He's already plugged in with a mic and everything for his show or shows. So he agreed to come out, and he just sort of announces the intro and says, okay, let's have the duel, and who challenges who first. And I raise my hand and I point over at Taliesin and say, hey, this is my challenge to you. And we just do it. And he just waits for us to finish our challenge. And then he tells the audience, your applause will decide who wins, who votes for him, who votes for him. And that's all he has to do. But that takes care of the whole process. If we didn't have an MC, we could do it, but it wouldn't be as effective. So he really helps a lot. He really does. But no, I like that. And believe me, Susan, there were a few things that Taliesin did that were pretty close to that. He's a goofy guy. I'm not kidding. I mean, we're talking jumping around me like yeah, he's nimble. Let's put it that way. Yes, and you're right, Susan. Spring in quotes. And no. We're not doing mic drops. That would just be wrong. At a fair? Come on. No. I try to hide my mic as much as I can as it is. And I mean, I think I've showed you before that I have my mic like right here. You can kind of, here it is right here. You can see it. You can see it kind of at the top of my hat. It's hidden in there, and that's how I use it. I don't like having a visible mic if I can help it. At the pub scene, I have to have a side mic because it's too far away from my mouth, so they have to up the gain as much, and there's too much sound around me with all the musicians up there at the pub sing. So it's too much feedback. I can't do it. So I'll put one on for pub sing, but otherwise I use that one. It works great, and it's very hidden, and I like that. So yes, anyway, let's go ahead and go to the full map and talk about the fairs coming up. Yay! We still have the Bay Area Renaissance Festival in Dade City, Florida going on. And then in Louisiana, in Hammond, Louisiana, the Pirates of the Pontchartrain Festival, which is at the same place that the Louisiana Ren Fair is. And I am well acquainted with that. And they do a great job with the pirate festival they do have there. And, you know, I think it's a really good idea having like you have your main season fair for the Louisiana Ren Fair in the late fall. And then you have in the spring a 1 weekend pirate fest. I mean, I think that's or 1 or 2 weekend or whatever you want to do, a pirate fest. And I think that's a really smart idea. I think yeah, I think that's quite brilliant because they already have the site for it and everything. And the Louisiana Ren Fair, it's all around a small bit of water, a small little lake. So yeah, I think it's perfect for them and quite a good idea. Then going over into Texas, we have, of course, the Sherwood Forest Fair, which I've been talking way too much about. I'm sorry about that. But we also have Avalon Fair in Kilgore, Texas, in Northeast Texas. And that is just starting this week. It'll be going on for a little while. And I've heard, I haven't been because, well, I do Sherwood, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's a newer fair, but it's, yeah, a lot of good things from different people and something to check out. Then, of course, the Medieval Fair of Norman in Norman, Oklahoma. And that's a one weekend fair that's been going on for many years. And it's held at the university there, University of Oklahoma. So, kind of interesting. Then you go over to Arizona, and you still have the Arizona Ren Fair going on. And that, I think it's about done at this point. I think this is the last weekend. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it is. It's usually February, March, and it sometimes hits the beginning of April. And then you also have the London Bridge Renaissance Fair and Lake Havasu. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Lake Havasu, Arizona. And that's in just next to the on the border with on the border with California. So yes, definitely that's kind of interesting. That's one I wasn't familiar with, so I'll be looking into that and seeing what all of that is about after this weekend, and maybe I can report back a little bit. But yes, definitely getting a few more fairs now, and that number is just going to keep going up as the spring continues. And yes, Susan, I'll go with you and do spring for us over here. Yes, that is kind of what we're used to. So anyway, yeah, I'm at the midway point at the Sherwood Forest Fair, and I thought it's kind of an interesting, well, it's an important event to be at the midpoint of a fair, especially an 8 weekend fair, 4 weekends in. You really, it really demands a certain bit of reflection, shall we say, about what how the fair has been going and all that. So for 7 reasons, I thought let's do 7 reasons. The halfway point at fair is an important moment of or for reflection. So yeah, that's I know it might be a little weird, 7 reasons, but it popped in my head and I wanted to go with it because yeah, I just thought because the end of fair is kind of like New Year's Day, where you look back at the fair and you look at everything you did right, everything you did wrong, new resolutions for the next fair, that kind of thing. But the midway point is kind of important too. And let's go over why. So the number 7 reason that the halfway point of fair is an important moment for reflection is, I mean, there's only a few weekends to finish the checklist. And what the checklist is when you first are prepping for a fair before it starts, you have, okay, these are all the things I want to do, all the things I'm going to work on and all of that, and this is what I want to have happen at this fair. And you're halfway through. Did you get through the entire checklist? Because usually when you start, you never finish it. You get as much done as you possibly can, and there's probably still more. So take a look and see if there's anything you want to really try to get done before the end of fair. And that's what that checklist is for. Number 6, not much more time with friends. I mean, one of the best parts about fair is the social aspect of it. Especially when you travel to different fairs around the country, a lot of the people that you meet and know there, that's the only time of year you're going to see them probably, especially with local cast and some performers and all of that. So it's really nice to be able to get to hang out with them and catch up and all of that. You maybe you haven't done that in the first half of the fair, and you want to make sure you get to talk and hang out with everybody. It's important. So yeah, definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. Don't want to miss it. Number 5, keep fatigue from setting in, because this is, I guess we'll call this preventative maintenance, because you can burn out and you don't want to do that. It's a marathon, not a sprint. A whole fair, no, you don't want to push it and party weekend after weekend after weekend, because when you start getting towards the end of the fair, you're a mess. You can't even say your name. So, yes, you need to take care of yourself. So, you want to hang out with people and enjoy it, but you need to pace yourself. And if you haven't been doing that and you're midway through, you need to immediately try to, take your vitamins, get as much sleep as you can, really try to recover and prep yourself for the next half of fair. It's important. Number 4, time to look at optimization. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, you had all these things on this checklist. Okay, is that um, did it go how you wanted? I mean, uh, should you take things off the checklist? I mean, did that new song you try, did that not work out well? Did people not like it? Maybe you need to take that off and take that out of your show. So it's important to think about that. It really is. All right, and number 3, new things to add. I mean, looking at the checklist and the things you already did add, that's one thing, but also, hey, you still got half of a run left. Is there anything you need to add to it? Like for me, I'm working on some new songs still that I'm trying to get in and get going for the last half. And my goal is to have a show of nothing but songs that I that I haven't done before the fair. So all new stuff. And well, I guess I'll just say it. I've had a few people actually ask me about something I did several years ago, where I did one medley of songs, the beer medley, for the entire 30-minute show. So I just kept singing for 30 straight minutes without stopping. And just yesterday, I had somebody again say, "Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Are you doing that again?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I guess I probably should." So I might be looking at doing that the last weekend. We'll see. But that's just because I'm a masochist. So we'll go with it. Number 2, go over your budget. I mean, you're halfway through. You've got, this is how much merch you've sold, how many tips you've made, all of that. It's a good indicator of how the rest of the season is going to go. So look at that and see if maybe there are some changes based on that. I mean, you can look at how many tips you got one day and say, well, that didn't go over so well. What did I do differently that day? Was it just the day or the audience or whatever? Or could some changes help with that? I mean, I don't think tips are necessarily the best representation of how good a show is, but they can be. It's something to keep an eye on, just to see if there's a trend. Too many anomalies happened at Fair, so yeah. But something to look at. And number 1, okay, prepare and plan for fun. Because I did say you needed to, preventative maintenance and take care of yourself. But as you get closer to that last weekend, unless you're immediately driving out the next day to the next fair that's happening the next weekend, if you have a little time off, I mean, it might be an excuse to that last weekend to really cut loose and have some fun and stay up late and party with friends and do that. So look into that, see what you can do, try to plan for that, because the spontaneity is a fun aspect. It's a fun thing to do and to feel, but that kind of thing can really lead you to burning out and having a lot of problems when you're on the road. You have to plan a lot to make things work. So yeah, I'd say halfway through, hey, plan on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And thanks, Jan. Yeah, it was an interesting show. I really threw that together, and some of it was last minute. So this one would be a little more organized, I swear. And yeah, I'm glad you are. I will do my best to try to make that work. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining me. Always fun. And oh, for those of you curious, I'm using, let's see, the purple, blue, and green lights tonight. I keep trying to change them week to week to see which ones I kind of prefer. If there's something that it's interesting, I thought this was a nice look, so thought that trio was interesting. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, have a good week and enjoy. And I look forward to seeing you again next week for another episode of Fair Life. Because what's a week without a fair life? Take care, and I'll see you soon.